Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Switzerland-based jazz drummer Florian Arbenz on the new 2023 Conversation No. 9 album called Targeted. This project is continuing a 2-decade relationship with the great American saxophonist Greg Osby. Florian is clearly a musician who is not content to sit still. He nears the end of this ambitious plan to record 12 albums with 12 drastically different ensembles, and with his 9th installment on the Conversation series, it's another great one. Having developed a habit of collaborating with old friends and childhood heroes throughout his past several releases, Targeted is no different. We get into this album, live shows, post-pandemic living, and so much more. He's an old friend of the show. We're always happy to catch up with him. Enjoy the interview. Always a pleasure to catch up with you with new material. The Conversation series continues, and I appreciate you reaching out. This is another wonderful album with you and Greg Osby and the group that you have assembled. So thank you for reaching out and opening up about this new segment of your series.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So let's get into, before we get into Conversations No. 9, I want to know, we've regularly kept in contact, and I want to know, now that the world is officially more woken and out of that whole pandemic era, how does it feel to have new material? How does this new world of musicians getting back to it feel?
It's actually, we are, on one hand, we are really happy that the whole restrictions, that the world is open again right now. It's great to be on tour. It's great to be, to meet the audience again. On the other hand, here in Europe, it's not still not so easy because of this Ukraine war. It's still kind of crazy a little bit because, me especially, I used to play a lot in Poland. I used to play also in the Ukraine a lot, and also in Russia, actually. And all those countries now are in trouble. And yes, so it's still a little bit shaky and scary, everything. But on the other hand, I'm playing, I'm touring, and I'm happy to do that.
So how do the audiences feel? I know that after something big happens, there's a level of appreciation, and it feels like there's a level of this that audiences are holding on to. It's not going away. Do you get that sense?
I really feel that the audience is coming back, and I really feel that all those streaming concerts were not really a sub for the live experience. So the audience is really enthusiastic, and the concerts are actually really well attended, which is nice for us.
So, Florian, this is a part of a series that you've been doing for a while. So we have proper context before we really dig into this particular project. Kind of lay out when Conversations started, what the goal has been, when is it going to come to an end, and how this one fits into it. Actually,
the plan is to release 12 albums. At the end, it was always obvious that I wanted to have some of my really heroes on board for this epic project, and obviously one of those heroes is Greg Osby. We first met in 1998, and since then we are really regularly in touch and regularly touring in different projects. And the last project we did with Greg was just a duo, so I was looking for something a bit special to break up this sound. And with the Dutch Hammond organ player Arno Geiger, I found a really great musician, and I'm really happy that he is now part of our trio. What I didn't know was Greg was telling me that in St. Louis, when he was growing up, the Hammond organ was the big thing. We never had that in Switzerland so much, but he told me that in every club there was a Hammond organ and everybody was playing with Hammond organ. So that was for him kind of a coming back to his childhood sound, and I really could hear that he appreciated that a lot.
It sounds as if all these musicians, over the string of conversations we've had about this series, that it is kind of a new thing for these musicians, and it really does kind of bring you not only closer to them, but it's almost as though the music challenges them to evolve more.
Yes, I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking in the beginning of the pandemic. I was thinking actually about great drummers, leaders, and of course our Blakey is almost number one, but also like Jack DeJohnette or those people. And from the drum chair, as you are not really involved in harmony and in melodies and everything, it's actually quite interesting because you really can find great combinations of musicians which work well or which challenge each other, and you just can lead it a bit from the drum chair without getting too much involved, because you don't have this access to harmony and melody. And I must say I really love this kind of concept, to bring together musicians which didn't necessarily know each other before, but which could fit very well together.
When we talk, you and I say you kind of as the proverbial musician, you're already moving on to the next project. What's going on now that we're kind of heading more further into the warmer months and this brand new year? What's next for you for music and shows, and what are you looking forward to as the year kind of unfolds?
Actually, I started quite touring a bit with all those conversation projects. I was just on tour with the conversation number 5 with the Dutch saxophone player Tineke Postma. And we will play actually quite an extended tour with this band with Greg Osby after summer. And then I will also be on tour with conversation number 4 with François Moutin on bass. Like now, what is really great for me and really interesting, that all those studio projects start to be alive suddenly. And those musicians start to come back to play with me, to tour. And for me, that's a big gift, to see that this project not only existed during pandemic circumstances and for studio circumstances, but also really work well live.
So the one thing that I, obviously because I'm here in Kansas City in America, I talk to a lot of American musicians, and I've always been curious, now that we're kind of entering a post-pandemic period of our lives. There is so much uncertainty. So many musicians had to either move or find other professions. So I'm curious, as a musician, a jazz musician in Europe, how strong is jazz? Have you noticed that a lot of people are coming back? You know, universities have young players. What is your sense of the strength of jazz in Europe in 2023?
I think that's my positive point of view maybe, but I think that also with all that kind of digitalization and artificial intelligence, people really start to really appreciate the analog live experience. So if this is jazz or rock or classical music or anything. But I think the jazz in Europe benefits from that people start to feel like having an analog experience in the evening, like going out to a club, having a drink, seeing real musicians, hearing real live music, which could be loud or soft or whatever, but it's not coming out of the box. And I think we as jazz musicians here in Europe, we take advantage of this situation right now. What the young musicians are concerned, I mean, I'm sure it's challenging for them to get a foot on the scene, but it's also interesting because there are so many influences around, so many festivals which open up the program to different influences. So it's kind of an exciting time, I would say.
You know, it's interesting you say that. What you just said was what I personally vocalized in the beginning of this pandemic. I was not only hoping, but I was anticipating that there was going to be a level of people that were going to revert back to a more organic way of listening to music. For instance, one of the saving graces for the entire recording industry has been the sale of vinyl. Who would have ever predicted that vinyl would have come back?
Absolutely, yes.
You know,
I agree.
So there's that warmth and golden, and honestly, for jazz, it is it's the newer. It's like classical music. I mean, but it's a classical music that is continually evolving.
Yes, and I also think it's the musicians are really in jazz music generally. The musicians are big characters and big personalities, and I think for the audience this is a real exciting thing to see that somebody is really expressing himself and his own thoughts, and maybe in combination with other strong characters. This can be a real. It's fun. Less predictable maybe than the classical music, and more exciting, I would say, maybe.
And I think that's one of the reasons personally is not only someone that's a practitioner of putting this music out for people, but that's the reason why I'm a fan. It's fun, it's good, it's evolving, it just makes you feel good. It's so good that more people are grabbing onto that, and that could be one of the silver linings of this period that we've lived through for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. I would agree, yes. And it's also between us musicians. I mean, it's just great to meet again and to exchange thoughts and to laugh and whatever. I mean, that's a real great thing for us.
Yeah, well, and I know for me, too, I really ramped up my interviews over the pandemic. It was really hard to hear everybody talking about an itinerary that was a year or two long that just fell away in the matter of days. So the fact that new recorded music's coming out, live shows are promoting it, I'm ecstatic to be able to have conversations with you in Switzerland and with others around the world that are literally getting back to it and ecstatic. So it's so good to be a part of this celebration of music coming back here in 2023.
I absolutely agree, and I mean that's a good word you said. Actually, the conversation series is a celebration of music. That's what it is, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, Florian, I want to make sure that anyone out there that wants to pick up, whether it's Conversations number 9 or any of the others in your wonderful series, and to find out about live shows, where is the best place for them to go?
I mean, my main place right now is Bandcamp. If you just put my name in Bandcamp, you will find all my recordings. You also can get in touch with me. There are quite a few people which are through Bandcamp in touch with me, and I really appreciate that because it's a possibility to communicate with the listener and to exchange ideas and to let the listener know when I'm touring. So I would say this is the main place.
And I can vouch for the fact that you are very punctual and open, so anybody out there that does want to reach out, you are the guy to get in touch with and to have that conversation, which, at the end of the day, that's what jazz is. It's just a really good conversation on stage. So really appreciate you again reaching out. It's so great to catch up with you again. Best of luck with the album and the live shows as this year kind of unfolds a little bit more.
Great. Thank you, Joe. It's great to be in touch with you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Europe, Kansas City, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Florian for his time, energy, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, you can find Neon Jazz interviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.